Women's sports kits are over-sexualized and not period-proof. If this affected men, it would be fixed by now. As a teenager, kid anxiety nearly made me quit, says Catherine Spencer, a former England rugby captain. It's dangerous being a female journalist in Somalia, but 1 year on, we are still shining our light. Since Cylon, the country's only all-women media house, was born last April, we've covered everything from HIV to opioids. Now we want to go global. A month after she died, Mystic Meg is still promising readers they will find love, even my husband. I don't believe in horoscopes, but the sun's astrologer continues to give me and Mr. Z something to talk about. In a few years' time, football coaches may be using an AI assistant. Let the CBI sexual misconduct allegations be a warning to British business. If we want Vladimir Putin brought to justice, Nuremberg has much to teach us. Rom and Kepka provide masters victories for various sides of Gulf Divide. John Rahm's Masters triumph provided validation for the PGA Tour, but Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson's performance proved the Live Rebels can still mix with the best. The Masters Rahm outlasts Koepka on dramatic final day. The recap sign up for our sport features email. Guardiola's City search for defensive solidity in tough Bayern Munich test. The manager knows ending the medley of misdemeanors in Europe is the only way his team can win the Champions League. Man City team not haunted by 2021 final defeat, say Guardiola. Chiquez's Mad Golazo seals place as Villarreal's new hero. The Nigerian winger was unstoppable against Real Madrid and is approaching his peak after a long, hard journey to Spain. La Liga Beta reports alleged post-match assault by Valverde. Murray exits Monte Carlo after heavy loss to de Minaur. Andy Murray's return to clay ended in a swift defeat to Alex de Minaur in the first round of the Monte Carlo Masters. New Big Three, rising trio serve up captivating future. Frustrated Araujo and Barca held on for draw. Foster penalty save takes Red Dragons close to promotion. Assistant referee stood down as PGMOL looks into Robertson elbow incident. Special series. How slavery changed the Guardian, Britain and the world. A tale of two cities. The struggle for a black history of Manchester. The city's image of protest and rebellion obscures its links to slavery, but there is a push to acknowledge the black radicalism in its past. Episode 2, The Meaning of Success, Podcast. Our second episode follows journalist Maya Wolf Robinson as she travels to Jamaica in search of the site of the former sugar plantation Success, once co-owned by the Guardian funder Sir George Phillips. White gold from black hands. The Gullah Geechee fight for a legacy after slavery. Descendants of the West Africans who picked the cotton that made Manchester rich are struggling to keep their distinct culture alive. Word Thrasher. Play the Guardian's new daily word game and share your score with your friends. Around the world, Netanyahu reverses decision to fire defense minister after mass protests. Dismissal of Yoav Gallant triggered unprecedented surge of protest against plan to disempower judiciary. Grand jury indicts mother of 6-year-old who shot teacher in class. Deja Taylor was charged with a felony and a misdemeanor for events leading to her child allegedly shooting first-grade teacher. Shadow Attorney General quits over liberal stance on Indigenous voice. Shadow Attorney General quits frontbench less than a week after Peter Dutton announced Liberals would oppose Indigenous voice to Parliament. Senate Democrats urge Supreme Court investigation of justice. Chief Justice John Roberts pressed to open inquiry into conduct deemed inconsistent with ethical standards. Mad Magazine. Al Jaffe, legendary cartoonist, dies aged 102. Macron sparks anger by saying Europe should not be vassal in US-China clash. US appeals judge's ruling to suspend abortion pill approval. Dozens of Australian politicians urge US to abandon Julian Assange extradition. Italian Coast Guard in rescue of 2 fishing boats carrying 1,200 people. A jail for wayward polar bears. You must be in Churchill, Canada. The 900 residents of the Manitoba town have learned to share their streets on the edge of the Arctic with the huge animals and the eager tourists who come to see them. Weather Tracker. Severe storms rock Australia and Canada. Tropical cyclone brews off the Kimberley while freezing rain causes chaos in Quebec and Ontario. Snow, floods and wildlife in peril. Grueling winter leaves Yosemite scarred. The national park is open again, but intense storms mean the specter of climate crisis is more evident than ever. Exxon's new, advanced recycling plant raises environmental concerns. Advocates warn plants like the latest addition to the Texas complex generate hazardous pollutants and provide cover for oil giants to produce new plastic products. Contact the Guardian. Tip us off. Share stories with the Guardian securely and confidentially. Grief, hallucinations and exhumed violins. The astonishing music of Richard Skelton. He self-released more than 60 searing albums, some with only a single copy, made with instruments including his late wife's jewelry. On a drive through northern moorlands, he explains his singular sonic world. Book of the Day. Greek Lessons by Hong Kong Review. Lost forges an intimate connection. An elegant translation of the South Korean writer's 2011 novel explores how a teacher losing his sight and a pupil losing her voice form a poetic bond. God's Petting You Review. Addiction's a Lark in Shallow Crime Caper 2 out of 5 stars. It's hard to root for the 2 feckless young lovers thumbing their noses at therapy, whose trouble with sex and drugs is portrayed as hedonistic fun. God's Petting You Review. Addiction's a Lark in Shallow Crime Caper. Succession Recap. Season 4, Episode 3. A gut punch episode is one of the show's finest. Utopia in corduroy concrete. The mesmerizing architecture of a Mexican master. Foraging, art and history in the Kent Downs. Nature and tales of the past are brought to life along the North Downs Way and around Canterbury by new projects engaging visitors with local knowledge and ages-old skills. Three families on the joy of traveling with adult children. Multi-generational travel has been rising as concerns over the pandemic fall. Here, families tell the stories of their first grown-up group travel experiences. Fabric, fit and all the flaps. How to pick a trench coat that looks great and lasts. Since its invention over a century ago, the trench has never gone out of style. With some attention to detail, you can buy one that lasts a lifetime. Romantic probation. Could a 3-month trial period lead to stronger, happier relationships? A kitchen in Rome. Rachel Roddy's recipe for pasta with peas, ham, egg and cheese. Tim Dowling tries cheese cocktails. Born in Damascus. The war in Syria scattered Laura's family across the world, and now 10 years have passed since the Scottish-Syrian filmmaker last saw her cousin in Damascus. She delves into family archives to reconstruct a positive image of their past. Labor's attack ads risk painting Starmer as just another politician. Messaging on Law and Order has racist undertones, say critics, and could scupper the party's efforts to appear to offer a fresh start. Band's long-serving guitarist Lasse Wellander dies. Band Hale, brilliance of session musician who has died aged 70 after being diagnosed with cancer. The big idea. Should doctors be able to prescribe psychedelics? A move to allow Australian psychiatrists to treat depression with psilocybin may herald a new era. It's like 45 years of torture. Searching for the bodies of the Trouble's victims. Lights, camera, insects. Invertebrates missing out on starring screen roles. Have you been affected by Cyclone Gabrielle? As New Zealand declares a national state of emergency for only the 3rd time in its history, we want to hear how you have been affected. How will you remember the footballer? The 3-time World Cup winner has died at the age of 82. What is his legacy and what did he mean to you? Tell us what you think about Putin's escalation of war in Ukraine. We would like to hear views and opinions from Russians at this stage of the Russia-Ukraine war. Share your views on the protests following Mahsa Amini's death. We'd like to hear from people in Iran how they feel about the protests following the death of Mahsa Amini in custody. Today in Focus. The nice, ordinary family suspected of being deep state Russian spies. When a new couple and their children moved into a sleepy suburb of Slovenia's capital, their neighbors thought they seemed very normal. But were they really who they seemed? Search for missing people continues after 2 buildings destroyed. The decline of New Zealand's glaciers. From heaven of Ukrainian liberation to hell of Russian bombardment. Benjamin Netanyahu says he will delay judicial overhaul after mass protests in Israel. Dominic Perrotet stands down as NSW liberal leader.